sometimes I feel like, I was talking to my friend Kiko a couple months ago. I said, Kiko, I don't know, he commented about something I posted. He said, this is great. You're always doing great work. And I wrote him back and said, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. And sometimes I feel like I don't want to do it anymore. And I didn't say I don't want to do it anymore. I said, I don't know how to move forward. It wasn't I don't want to do it anymore. And he said, I don't understand why you're thinking of it that way. He's like, you can't be any other thing. He said, the way that you are an artist because you are. It's part of who you are, which I thought was really interesting, because in a way I was thinking about, like, okay, artist as an artist and artist as a profession, how have we kind of, aren't they the same thing? Are we confused with, do we get confused because sometimes it gets really hard, or sometimes, we don't see like a light out of the tunnel, or it takes extreme discipline. It takes extreme perseverance, I think. But what he said was really interesting. Like, why are you, like, it's not a title that you that you can switch on your resume. And I thought that was really beautiful advice. By the way, he builds bicycles. He's an artisan of sort. He builds really beautiful bicycles, right? Like custom bicycles. And I don't. I come from a family that supported me to a certain degree in like my creative endeavors, so to speak. But I don't come from a family that, I come from a family that both of my parents work. They're both academics. That was not like, you could be an architect. Oh yes, definitely an architect. But an artist is like, it's a little bit, sometimes to this day, I'll be talking to my mother and she'll say, oh, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to work. Really, I'm not. She'll say, and my mother's so nice. She says, you got a job? But mind you, I've always had a job. I've always worked.
Yes.
I've always had like a million side gigs, things to do. But I do think that but one thing, my parents, good or bad, they never said like, do a profession to make money. And I'm really grateful to them that they were never like, you should do this profession because you will make money this way. You should do something that you really feel you want to do. So which was actually, I can say that it was pretty nice to I mean, actually, when I told them that I was going to go to art school, I kind of sold it as I was going to go into architecture. But I'm not I mean, I love architecture, but I'm not an architect. So once that kind of switched, they were a little apprehensive, and then we got through it. But I was thinking back to like all of the things that that maybe like formative in my trajectory. And I started to think about what my friend Kiko said, and it started to feel really much like it is something that you are, and it's not something that you achieve. If maybe that's a way to kind of look at it. Because I mean, when I was young, I made tons of maquettes. I was always making maquettes. I really involved in theater, but we did like every aspect of it. So I remember like making this, I really loved making this scenery, because that was like the space, but it was a space on the stage, which is a total different kind of way to kind of see space and represent space, which were really kind of important. I feel like important ways to kind of reach, you know, like in my formative, like having those opportunities, you know, were important to how I work now. But I did at certain times think like, oh, maybe I'll be an actor, or maybe I'll even like sometimes even now to this day I think, oh, maybe I'll open up a bakery. Maybe I'll become a farmer, and maybe I will study acupuncture. Maybe I will become an archaeologist. Maybe. But then I was thinking,
yeah,
there's a difference between being interested in things and wanting to do something. So I was, you know, I've never found anything that I wanted to do more than making art, which is, I had to think about it a while, because I thought like, I definitely thought about, I've been in moments where I think like, this is a little bit too difficult. I should really, maybe I should think, like reflect upon this. But I always end up on the other end, not having an answer for something that I want to do more, which I think is an internal dialogue that I think, whether artists submit it or not, I think it's a dialogue, an inner dialogue that we have. I think it's also important, because I think it helps us recenter when we need to recenter. It helps us step out of that. Like if you're on a block, if you're having a block, maybe you need to step outside of your routine of going to studio, of applying to these grants. Like maybe it means that you need to, I don't know, go for a walk by the river, because you see something that you weren't expecting, and it inspires you, and it maybe takes you somewhere else. But if you don't have those moments of tension in your own practice, I mean, speaking for myself, I've tried to push through those moments of tension, and I feel like every time I do that, salute, and I come out the other side, like understand, like really feeling revived and ready to work again, maybe with a different angle, because it's not so much about, it helps me, yeah, it helps me recenter. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I talk a lot to myself. I mean, I feel like a lot of artists, we have inner, because we spend time alone. I mean, I have a family, I have friends, I'm a social person, but some days I spend a lot of time alone, and my brain goes to places, but it's always been really interesting to kind of be honest with myself in those moments, like, something here is not working. Maybe reflect a little bit, and maybe be a little bit more lenient with my ideas of time. Like how much time, like,
yeah,
I should do this in this period of time, and I should arrive here at this period of time. Or if things aren't happening fast enough for me, or if I'm not getting, you know, a show in this amount of time, that I have to say has never affected my practice. I've never been affected by I've never been like those moments of thinking about what else I would do never came from not having shows, or or in moments where I had less didn't have very many shows, or I wasn't showing a lot. It never came in those moments. In fact, I don't know, those are the moments where I get most of my ideas. I don't know how, it's like the moments when maybe I have a little bit more freedom to kind of explore what I want to explore. I think it's really also like the ebb and the flow, and also feeling like, yeah, I have all of these other things I'm interested in doing too. Like I have bread every week. I have a, I'd like to work in the garden. Those are all things that I approach in the same way that I work in my studio, so to speak. Like I get such satisfaction from those activities. Would I like to do that full time? No. But I do feel like it's a way to kind of to approach things that you do in your life. I think it's also a generational thing, because we straddled analog and digital. Like I was trying to think about my earliest quote unquote art projects, which were the maquettes. I made a card. I was obsessed with systems, like, and I still am. I card cataloged all my books. I made a system, and I wrote out all the cards, and I think I even made the box that they went in, and I put a thing in the book to insert the card in the book, because I thought that it would be really interesting to have this system. I was obsessed with kind of systems and how you do them, and I was thinking it was like the idea of time and the idea of the performative, so to speak. Like what was the project? Was the project the act of making, was the act the process, or was the act the actual? It wasn't the actual finished piece that was so, it was the process. And that says a lot about also the way I work even to this day. I'm really set on, in fact, sometimes I feel like I better not talk too much about the process, because that's where I feel like I love that the time frame of the process. It's very interesting to me that, because I haven't, that's not my experience. But to share that experience of someone who says I haven't, that's just as valid as someone
Yes.
I haven't attained it. And I think it's really important to the conversation, and everyone should feel like what they've experienced is equally relevant, you know.